Alrighty, cool. That was fun. OBS apparently installed an update when I didn't know it, and there's all kinds of stuff that's different now that wasn't there. Things that were there before are gone. Things that weren't there, or things that were there and weren't there that are now. I don't know. Weird. Anyway, so sorry for the late start today. I had some running around I had to do this morning. Let's see. Park Kingery and dude whose screen name can't pronounce anyways here. Joe Ennis. Jeff 7. What's up, fellas? How's everybody doing today? Good, bad, nothing? This is really annoying. I kind of wish they didn't delete all of my settings. That's irritating. Park Kingery says, good, it's hot out today. It's pretty good weather here, too. I think it's supposed to get up to about 58 or something here today, which, for Indiana in February that's pretty warm. So I'm not going to complain because I've been out in it already, and it was rather nice. Windy in LA. Let's see, Fuzz Life is here. Jeff 7 says, fantastic. What about those Mustaine V's? I'll be honest, I'm so sick of hearing about Dave Mustaine and Gibson at this point. Near as I could tell, they look like a Flying V with an Explorer headstock, which is cool. But I don't know. I'm going to reserve any further judgment until I actually get my hands on one. So, Iggy Plateau says, Robert finally warmed up here in Texas. It was rough going down there in Texas. I got a couple friends of mine down there that were, I was pretty concerned for them because they were pretty rough shape, man. I mean, it was, you were down there, so you would know, but I was concerned for them. Fortunately, they're okay, but let's see. Stay curious as which Mesa do you like better, the Mark Series or the Triple Crown? Kind of pretty tough to beat the Mark Series. The Triple Crown probably my second choice, to be honest. Although the new Badlander is also, I find also very, very intriguing. I haven't personally gotten to play through one yet, but the Mark Series are definitely my favorite Mesa Boogies, and the Triple Crown was right after. Triple Crown's cool because it's kind of like in one section of it anyway. It's kind of like a Marshall in a box, which is not something. Before that, the closest Marshall in a box anything they ever had was the Stiletto, and Stiletto was a great amp too, but it was kind of their response to Marshall. It wasn't exactly a Marshall type of amp, so But yeah, give me the Mark Series all day long, man. I love Mark Series, Mesa Mark Series amps are killer. Let's see. Jeffrey Schned is here from Colorado. Jeff 7 says, yeah, they hyped that to death. I don't know if they hyped it to death. I mean, I think people just lost their minds over it. I mean, we knew this was happening. They announced back in December or November or something. I think it was December that they first announced that Dave Mustaine was, ending his deal with Dean was ending, and he was gonna go become a Gibson artist, and so I mean it's not like it was news. Now they finally got the prototypes built, and I don't know. It's like I said. I mean I've heard so much nothing but Dave Mustaine and Gibson all week long, and I'm sick of it. I don't who cares what brand he's playing? Who cares what brand he's endorsed by? Jeffrey Schnetz, how about the Jet City JCA 20? What about it? Cool amps, for especially if you're on a budget. But how about it? You said how about it? I don't know what you're asking me. So, Fuzz Life says Mark V is a beast. Mark V is a beast. The Mark IV is also a beast, and really, I mean the Mark IIs, particularly the C Plus. That one's been on pretty much every Metallica record ever. And Mark III, of course, was made famous by Izzy Stradlin way back when. So yeah. Yep, Mark III amps are pretty cool, and of course, there's been plenty of other records that zillions of other albums those amps have been used on too. Like pretty much every Dream Theater album, I'm pretty sure that Petrucci's used a Mark Series amp on just about every Dream Theater record. So I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that is the case. Fuzz Life says I didn't like the shared EQ on the Mark IV when I had one. They're great. They're not just like anything else. They're not for everybody. That's okay. They don't have to be for everybody. That is okay. Let's see. Serenity Guitars. Welcome, sir. Did anybody see that video that Chris Jupiter put up this week? He put up a Jupiter. It's not even one of his. I guess he's got another buddy whose name I've already forgotten, but I guess has got a pedal company called Ground Effects, and they put out a pedal called the Gray Skull that is really, I believe it or not, I actually thought it was it was a fuzz pedal, but even I thought it was cool. It's just because it was like a really really subtle fuzz, but with a really really down tuned guitar. I thought it was pretty cool. So Krista actually demoed that on his channel, and I am intrigued. So I have discovered a new pedal company that I was not familiar with prior to this week, and yeah, so. So, you referred to the, yeah, something like that. Something like that. Let's see. I think Scott Brockaway is here. I think there is a bit of stream lag here this week, because what I'm seeing in my OBS window versus what I'm seeing in my YouTube window are two. YouTube especially seems to be about 7 seconds behind or so right now, which is, it's usually a little bit behind, but oh well. Is what it is. So, flipping through some tabs. No super chats yet, and super chat members yet. There's that. I really wish I knew why. Well, I'm gonna have to pop out filtering options. Event filters. Uh-oh. I clicked something. I don't know what I clicked. I guess we'll find out here in a second. If this live stream cuts off, I'll be right back. Let's see. God Rockaway said not like it was previously. It used to be like a minute behind. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it's still early. I suppose it's got more time to more time to get to get caught up, or more time to fall behind rather. So let's see. Still really low volume, by the way. Not according to the meter on my screen. I mean, I'm hitting yellow pretty regularly just by talking at this volume. So I think maybe you might need to turn your volume up. So and no disrespect, but you're the only one in the chat that's saying anything about my my volume level. So. Let's see. Bart Kingery says I ordered the Tesla Wolf Overdrive from Jupiter Effects. I actually ordered the Jive, so I've got a Jive on the way as well that I am really looking forward to. That's actually one of his more like normal pedals. He's it's not one of his weird out of this world things. He sends me that kind of stuff when he's in the mood for a laugh. So this one was actually one that I wanted to try out. So Dave Escobar says saw the new Aztec graphic Kramer Night Swan Vivian Campbell style, looks cool. I thought so too. I like that guitar. There was of course there was that one. There's a few different what was it, 3 different Night Swans that they announced. There was they did the Aztec one, they did the polka dot one, and the other one I think was just a plain red one or something with a red and black pickup or something. Oh well. Let's see. Stay Curious says, I really like Fender's hot noiseless pickups because I can turn my Mark IV gain on 10 and it's not noisy and it sounds great. Fender's noiseless pickups, people kind of seem to think, that people seem to either I've talked to a lot of people that hate those things, and I for the life of me, I can't figure out why. I'm with you. I really like Fender noiseless pickups. There for a while when I was putting single coil pickups in guitars, that's pretty much all I would use because, partially one because I was so spoiled with humbuckers. I hated 60 cycle hum, still hate it, but I've gotten used to it. So no 60 cycle hum, and they sound good. I always thought they sounded real good. So. Yeah, I like Fender noiseless pickups. So, matter of fact, next week, I got a pickup video coming up here, and I think it's next week. I'm not sure, but I do believe so. Park Kingery says, definitely not buying from the company that was being awful to Jupiter. No, I agree. That dude's not getting any of my money either. Or even a mention. Even a mention on my channel. So, hey, Tony Peppers is here. What's up, dude? Says, are you looking forward to receiving your Hesher? I'm looking forward to your demo. You kind of ruined my surprise for everybody, but yes. I will. I haven't checked the tracking on it here in a couple of days since you sent it to me, but I think, I think last time I did check it, it was being coming from your part of the world over here to my part of the world. It was being transported for, handed off from one shipping company to another, and tracking info always gets, lost. Seems to oftentimes get lost in the mix and takes forever to catch up when that happens. So. That was just a few days after you shipped it out. So a couple days after you shipped it out. So, but anyway, what it is, just, since the cat is now out of the bag, Tony did a very, very, very limited run of a distortion pedal called the Hesher that I believe you also designed and designed along with the transmutation devices guys as well, because that's one of their regular production models, is the Hesher, and I've been talking to those guys there about that off and on for a while, but it's never happened. And anyway, so Tony decided to do his own run of them. And, there was only 14 of them, I think, that you said you did. So he did 14 of them, and I got lucky enough to grab one of them. So that one is on the way, and even though you won't be able to buy this particular version of it, you will be able to buy it from transmutation devices. But that's, I know a little bit more about it, but that is all I am going to say about that as far as the pedal itself, because I want to leave something to the leave some reason for people to want to come back and watch the video. Tony says TMD put all the effort in on this one. But there you go. So I guess TMD designed it. So I don't know if they gave you the go ahead to go ahead and build those under the Peppers Pedals brand or what. But I guess I didn't get all the details about how this whole thing came to be. I just saw what it was and got excited, and you sent me the link and I ordered it. So, oh boy. So yeah, that'll be a cool video when it gets here, which will hopefully be. I don't know. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for this week, but I'm hoping it'll be here the week after. Because New Zealand's pretty far away from Indiana. Trent Riconi is here. Says, what are your thoughts on the Epiphone Les Pauls? I like them. Honestly, I think Epiphone's quality right now is really about as good as it's ever been. I think they're making really, really nice guitars right now. There for a while, before I was able to afford a Gibson or anything. Before I was even, I could ever even dream of affording a Gibson. I remember one year I put my entire tax return towards an Epiphone Les Paul Custom, the Black Beauty, the 3 pickup version. And I still have that guitar, so I don't play it nearly as often as I used to. But for a long time, that thing was my baby. I loved that thing, and I was proud as a peach to own that thing, because it was it was a Les Paul Custom, and that was my very first Les Paul. So. It's still got some sentimental value to me even today, even though I don't play it as often as I used to. But yeah, no, I think Epiphones are great, man. I think their quality right now is is about as good now as it's ever been. I wish like hell they would put some, they would upgrade their freaking pickups, because I think most of their, a lot of their factory pickups still sound like shit. But I don't know what it's going to take for them to finally get away from the mud buckers that they sometimes like to use. But but beyond, the nice thing about Epiphones is that's a lot of people agree with me on that. You can swap pickups out in them, and you're not really going to devalue it that much. So yeah, no, nothing. I have nothing negative to say about Epiphone. Scott Brockway says, are you going to get a rat's bane? It's I saw the videos on that one yesterday too, or at least several of them, and it's got my attention. Pete's video sounded really good. Brian Wampler's video actually sounded excellent. And I watched Andy's video, the Guitar Geek. I watched his video while I was sitting in the drive-thru to ordering my lunch this afternoon when I was out running around because it was a long line, and his sounded great. So yeah, I like it. I liked it a lot, and I think it sounds killer. So it's you can tell it's definitely a rat, and he told us that, but it's a rat, but not quite a rat. It's got there's some differences that kind of set it aside and make it its own thing. So yeah, I really liked what I saw. Scott Brockway says, Tony Peppers, do you make all the pedals with the satanic imagery? That's I don't know if that's an exclusive club these days, man. There's a lot of companies out there that put some pretty wacky graphics on their pedals. And also, I only own a couple of Tony's pedals, but I demoed several more that Park sent me once upon a time, and a lot of his pedals were, matter of fact, I don't think really, with the exception of the Satanist, I think that really none of them had any kind of satanic graphics on them. The the Fury, and that's all I'm going to say about that pedal to keep Tony out of trouble. That one was actually a graphic of an amplifier that it was emulating. And he's not allowed to. He makes that pedal, but he's not allowed to make that version of it anymore with that graphic, unfortunately, which is too bad. Because I'd love to have one of those. But you can also see it on my channel. So, there's the Green Bastard, which has actually very little graphics on it, and is a killer sounding pedal. Yeah. Hey, Jim Woodard's here. How is your new Blues Junior, sir? I hope that worked out for you. We can talk more privately off to the side about that as necessary, but I just saw your name, and that was the first thing I thought of, so. Stay Curious says, I heard on the last Tone Talk that Sweetwater had their greatest sales year in history in 2020. How great is that in a time of pandemic? Believe it or not, retailers were up quite a bit across the board. Guitar Center, of course, their store sales were down because they all went an entire quarter with almost all 300 stores shut down entirely. So that hurt, and that hurt more than anything. But their online sales, on the other hand, they increased their online sales staff by I think it was like 100 people. They added 100 more people to handle all the additional call volume that they were getting, particularly over the summer, and retained most of them. So. And I think Fender also reported, I don't know I can't recall if they said it was their best year ever, but they said 2020 was one of their best years. Then there was a lot of people that were sitting at home that that were either working from home, and were not in danger of missing a paycheck, but all of a sudden had a lot more time on their hands, and decided to start picking up guitar. Learn to, it's the opportunity to learn to play guitar that I've always been looking for. A lot of people said that. There was a ton of podcasts and YouTube channels launched. There was a ton of recording projects that got caught up on, stuff like that. So, yeah, the EMI industry altogether, overall, actually did very, very well. So, that's the EMI side of the business. And we're not talking about the live entertainment side of it. Live shows, that's an entirely different scenario altogether. So, let's see. Jeffrey Schnitt said, which Seymour Duncan bridge pickup would be your choice and an HSS Strat? Ooh. You know, I mean, the JB is always my go-to humbucker for just about any situation because it's by far my favorite, and I think the most versatile humbucker, not just in Seymour Duncan's line, but I think on the planet. So I mean, that would probably be my go-to. That said, if JB might not be the best fit for everybody. So in which case, I also really like the pearly gates in the bridge position on a Strat. Boy, yeah, the pearly gates. The distortion is cool if you want something with really high output, and let's see what else is out there. The Screaming Demon, which was a George Lynch. It's a George Lynch signature, but I think it's he doesn't really use it. At least he's been more well known for using the distortion. And Pearly Gates. Pearly Gates is actually excellent sounding in the bridge position of a Strat as well. So any of those, honestly, really anything Seymour Duncan, in a Strat, I don't think you can go wrong with. But probably be one of those that I would choose from. In the Super Chat, which, by the way, if you guys want to support the channel, you are also able to do so as well by doing what Jim just did and contributing to the Super Chat. All of the proceeds from that, of course, after YouTube takes their cut, but everything left over goes right back into the channel. That is how I continue to acquire new gear to keep demoing for you guys. So. Jim says, thanks for the Blues Junior. Very nice, rocking it very loud and may become my number 2 amp, his DSL 40C being number 1. This thing's better than I remember. They have a tendency to do that. I have, and like I said, I still can't, Jim bought the Tweed version, the NOS Tweed version of the Blues Junior that comes with the Jensen speaker in it, and I've never been able to confirm which version of the Blues Junior circuit that they put in that amp. I still think it might even be the version 2. At least it seemed to be the last time I tried one, but I don't know. Regardless, great sounding amplifiers. Great, really, really good sounding little amps, especially if you want something small and relatively portable with tubes, takes pedals well, all that kind of stuff. So good. Glad to hear it is doing what we needed it to do for you, sir. BudgetGuitarist.com is here. What's up, dude? Says, yes, I dislike the Pro Buckers also. The Pro Buckers actually are, you're talking about the Epiphone pickups. The Pro Buckers actually aren't that. They're better than I guess the ones that I'm really referring to are the Alnico Classics. For years they put that pickup in damn near everything, and it was really hit or miss. There's some guitars like my Black Beauty Les Paul Epiphone Les Paul Custom. That one's got Alnico Classics in it, and it sounds okay. Then there's other Les Pauls, Epiphone Les Pauls and stuff that I've heard them get thrown into, and they just sound muddy as hell and terrible. And the more I heard those pickups over the years, the more I've grown to dislike them. Despite the fact that they're an import version of the 57 Classic is what they are. It's what they're supposed to be. So, it's not what they're supposed to be. It's what they are. Regardless, they're I don't care for them. I wish Epiphone would just suck it up and start putting putting Gibson USA pickups in them, at least in like the guitars over like $500 or $600, or come up with something different. So let's see. Park Kinger says the pickups on my SG Pro sound good. They do, I don't want to talk like they're all terrible, and I think a lot of them seems to depend on which specific hunk of wood that they're going into. So that seems to make a lot of difference with Gibson or with the Epiphone pickups as well, and Gibson pickups for that matter. So I don't know, just my opinion. There's a lot of people out there that like them. So Dave Escobar says I like the new Epiphone headstock, a bit wider. I picked up, inspired by Gibson Epiphone 335, blemish for Guitar Center. Couldn't find any damage, no E on the pick guard. So that's pretty good. If that means, yeah, I mean, well, a lot. If it's if you order a lot of times, if you order a blemish thing online, it's half the time it's on Guitar Center's website. Half the time it turns out to be something so minor. I mean, you're wondering how why they even labeled it as such, but there's somebody saw something on it, so they like to avoid having to eat the shipping cost on it twice and just label it as such and move on, even if it's not really blemished. So, but I agree. I think I like their new headstock quite a bit better as well. Just the old Epiphone headstock, for some reason, at least the one that we're used to, is basically with the just the Gibson headstock with the corners nipped off of it. It's okay. Of course, it's kind of been it's been a thing for a long time, but I don't know. To me it just looks import, whereas the new version of the headstock that they're using now, I agree, looks a little more vintage, retro, pro looking, I guess, for lack of a better better description. So William Fitzgibbons says SLO 100 with Rev 3. I'd love to have both of those amps, or either one of them, to be honest. But that's a lot of money. Tony Pepper says 2020 was my best year so far. 581 pedals built, almost double that of 2019. Crazy. Wow. Congratulations, Tony. That's great to hear. And you live in the country, by the way. Should be noted, you live in New Zealand. New Zealand, got a handle on this coronavirus thing, much faster and much more efficiently than pretty much every other country in the world. So, so your economy was was back up and running, a little bit sooner than most places. Certainly a lot sooner than ours. Anyway, but regardless. I know a lot of your marketing, a lot of your customers are over here on this side of the world too. So, anyway, but I'm great to hear the smaller companies like yourself and like Chris Jupiter and Park King area. Small companies like that. I really like hearing about their successes and they're doing well and their businesses are growing and their names are getting more and more recognized. That's it's one reason why I like to demo gear from a lot of those companies is to help get their names out there as much as a little bit more, or at least as much as I can. My influence doesn't always equate to much, but I do still like to do my part in it in hopes that if I do post a video up of a lesser known brand, that over time that video will prove to be valuable to them. So. Let's see. Dave Escobar says custom. I have in my VH1 homage. Good pickup. That's the Duncan. Seymour Duncan's the important thing. When you see Seymour Duncan custom, there's 3 of them that can be confusing. There's the Duncan custom, which I believe is the Alnico 5. Or I'm sorry, the Duncan custom, which I believe is the Alnico 2. And you find those in the Charvel guitars a lot too. So, but the Duncan Custom, the Custom 5, which I believe is the custom is the Alnico 5 version of that pickup. That one's actually Paul Stanley's favorite, and then the Custom, which is the ceramic version. So I may have those mixed up, but there are 3 different versions, and the difference between the 3 are the magnets. So. Although I do admit I may have the magnets confused on which one goes where. Let's see here. Where are we? 42 viewers. Wow. Pretty solid amount of viewers here today. Excellent. Yeah, invite your friends, by the way, if you haven't already. I've only, my goal is to get this live show here every week, up to the point to, my current goal anyway is, up to around 100 viewers consistently. Right now, I've broken 50 a couple of times, but right now we seem to hover right around 40. So, got a ways to go, and that's going to come with more growth of the channel. But from right now, that is what the next plateau, or the next mountain that I would like to climb. So, Max says, Robert, should I sell my ASAC Classic to buy a set of P rails and triple shots for my Ibanez? Absolutely not. I think it's, unless it's your ASAC Classic. I guess I don't know if it's a tribute series or if it's if it's a legacy series. The USA version. Regardless, the thing with number one with G&Ls, they don't seem to hold their value real well for some reason, and I've never understood that. But the pardon me. But the other thing is, the diehard G&L fanatics, they think that G&Ls are fenders the way the fenders are supposed to be built. So, and to be honest with you, I tend to agree with you. I agree with them about that to an extent, because I think G&Ls are extremely well built guitars. When I bought my Chapman, I ended up going, my Chapman ML1 traditional, because I was looking for a Strat style guitar. I didn't want to spend USA Strat money, number one, which is why I ruled that out and I didn't go that route. Otherwise, I would have, because I think the Ultra Series are probably the best Strats on the market right now, and the best Strats that have been out on the market for quite some time. Let's see. Anyway, before I landed on my Chapman, I was looking real hard at the G&Ls. The reason I didn't go that route is because they didn't have one with all of the the right feature set that I was looking for. There was a mahogany body, which I didn't want, at least not a Strat style guitar, or it was something like that. So, had it not been for not being able to find the right feature set within their product line, I would have gone G&L. The thing is, the P rails, you're talking about, what are those, couple, those pickups are what, $70-$80 a piece. So, I don't understand the logic in selling a guitar unless it's one you just don't play. But I don't understand the logic in selling a guitar to buy guitar parts, to install in another guitar that will essentially, that's in most cases is going to devalue that guitar, on the used market anyway. Because if you install P rails and triple shots, whatever it may, P rails and triple shots into an Ibanez, number one, most Ibanez players statistically are DiMarzio guys and gals, because that's what that's the company that Ibanez has the strongest. That's the pickup company that Ibanez has the strongest relationship with. So, you got to find an Ibanez player that likes Duncans, and two, you got to find one that's looking for P rails, which is even harder. So, nah, I mean, if I were, if you're gonna do the pickup swap in that guitar anyway, I would say just save the money, buy the pickups outright. Don't sell your ASAT to finance it. Leave the ASAT alone. So, long-winded answer, but that's how I would tackle it. Let's see. Jim Woodard said that was the reason I returned my Epiphone Black Beauty. I did not like the damn pickups. I'm thinking of buying a budget Les Paul and sticking Duncans in it. A lot of people do that. If I were gonna buy, if I were gonna do, a pickup upgrade in an Epiphone, I would be upgrading to Gibson USA pickups. So just me, but that's what I would do. but that's just I'm kind of a brand. I like to make sure my brands line up. Same, right pickup brands and the right guitars, etc., etc. Herbert Schmidt says, slip in and say hello. Rock on, Robert. Thank you, sir. I hope you are doing well and having a great weekend. Fredrickson Causey says, what do you think of effing guitars? Just got the Les Paul Special copy with P90s. I am not the least bit familiar with those, unfortunately. I have no opinion to offer up on any of those. I couldn't even tell you what they looked like. I'm not even sure I've ever even seen one, to be honest. So, let's see. Kid Pesto is here. Park Kinger says, I spent 2020 building prototypes. And that you did. I just received one of them, though. Matter of fact, it's sitting right over here in the stand right next to me because I just got done finished up my demo of that pedal here this week, and I very, very much enjoyed the Ninurta overdrive. I'll spoil that one because there's already a few other videos that are up about it. I think Greg Campbell, I believe, was what's his name of his channel, Angry Riffs or something like that, I think is his channel. He just put up a pretty good demo of it, really good demo of his actually. And what was the other one that I saw? Truck driver Sean also has a video up of it now. Mine's not coming for, mine won't be up for probably another 2 or 3 weeks, but you guys are talking amongst yourselves. This Vinny Guitar says I need to send my prototype to Robert. We've talked about that. You've got the info. I'm just waiting for it to show up. Once it gets here, I will be happy to have a look-see at it. Stacy Brown says, any thoughts on Squier Contemporary Series? Yeah, I've sold a few of them, and it's not my kind of thing. It's not the kind of guitar that I would buy, but that said, the quality of those guitars, and what are they? $300, $400 maybe. I don't think they go over $400. I think they're really well made guitars. So, and here's the thing with that a lot of people don't know about Fender and the Squier brand, because Squier they've been very, very subtle about this. They've never really announced it formally, at least not to my knowledge. But about 5, 6 years ago, 8 years ago, about 10 years or so ago, I think is when they came out with like the classic vibes. The classic vibes and the vintage modified series, which were those are the nicest quality Squiers that you could buy. And they did that because they were kind of wanted to try to change the reputation. It used to be the name Squier came to people's minds, and the only thing that that came to people's minds were cheap entry level, like Affinity series and Bullet series guitars that people, was like your very first guitar. That was what came to people's minds, and Fender wanted to change people's mindset about the brand in general. So they came out with the classic vibes and the vintage moderns, both of which were really, really nice guitars, very well made, far nicer than just about anything else that had the Squier name on it. Well, fast forward from there, that was what? I think that was like 2010, 2011, somewhere in there. Fast forward a few years, and that plan is working out pretty well for Fender. And they said, somebody decided, what, we need to start taking the entire Squier line more seriously. And the end result was, they did some market research, and they found that a lot of people who they sell, who Fender sells the the Player Series, for example, $700 guitar, $650, $700 guitars, the Performer Series, $600, $900,000 guitars, USA made guitars. That's their entry level USA line. People that buy those guitars, a lot of times is the second guitar for those individuals. So Fender realized that we need to start putting top-notch qualities and paying really, making sure that these guitars are really, really set up and and ready to go right out of the box. Because with the Squiers, this is their first guitar. We want their business when they're buying more guitars down the road. So, which is really pretty smart. That's a brilliant way of a guitar company investing in their future, and that's exactly what they've done. So, pretty much anything you buy right now with the Squier brand name on it is gonna, it may not sound the best, may have some pretty cheap electronics, and you may need to, might want to change those out. But from a playability standpoint, they're ready to go right out of the box, 9 times out of 10. So, hats off to Fender for that. Let's see. Where was I? Cracked the 45 viewer mark there a second ago. I'll go ahead and plug myself again. If you guys want to support the channel and keep these live streams going and allow me to keep demoing gear for you guys, newer gear and stuff like that you may have an interest in, by all means, please consider supporting the channel. You can do so by you should be able to see the little glass there on the front, or right there on the screen that you can access the tip jar through. There's also the dollar sign icon down there at the bottom, underneath the chat, and there's the Teespring shop, and of course you can also eliminate the middleman if you prefer to, and hit up the PayPal link there in the description. Again, all of that stuff all goes to, that's how I keep this channel going, really, because all that money gets invested back into new gear for me to demo for you guys. Let's see. Joe Trey says, "Hey Robert, I've never upgraded capacitors when I've upgraded pickups. I've been reading upgrading capacitors can make the pickups sound a ton better. Any advice?" Honestly, I think it depends on the guitar, depends on the potentiometers, and it depends on the pickups. I know a lot of people that like to put the orange drop caps into their Les Pauls, because those are more of a, I think those act as a treble bleed. So, Les Pauls typically being a really, really warm sounding guitar, people trying to get a little bit more treble out of them, they'll put the, put a set of orange drop caps in there on the pots as they are putting in a new set of pickups, or or even on the existing set of pickups. Doesn't really matter, I guess. And give them a little bit more treble to brighten up the sound a little bit. So does make it sound a ton better. That's all in the ear of the beholder. To be honest with you, I don't think it's going to make it sound better or worse, but it's going to definitely make it sound different. Whether or not you like it better than how it sounded originally, that I couldn't tell you. But if you're going to start playing around with that stuff, start with the orange drop caps would be my advice. Let's see. Dave Escobar says, while you're waiting on your Les Paul Custom, I'm patiently waiting on a deal of a Les Paul Gold Top for the collection. Still have to decide whether to go with P90s or humbuckers. How good a deal may determine which. Les Paul Custom, I'm working on it, but like you said, it's going to be a while before I'm actually able to buy that stupid thing. So, but, fingers crossed. Like I said, I'm working on it. I'll get there one day. Gold tops, I've never I know I understand why people like them, and I actually really like the story behind them. But I hate the look of them. I don't like gold. I don't like the look of gold tops. I never have. Those are just they're too. It reminds me of kitchen appliances from the 50s or 60s. I guess. That's why I don't like them. It's just too retro vintage looking for my taste. So the story behind the gold top I think is great. I love the story behind it, but the look itself, not my thing. So. But on the exception of that, most anybody that likes Les Paul, or that anybody that likes Les Pauls also seems to really like gold tops. So, Park Kingery in the super chat, thank you, sir, appreciate it. Park Kingery also says my player strat is very well made. Would buy again. The player series strats are really, I agree. I think they're great guitars. I think they're a huge improvement, a huge improvement over the old Made in Mexico standard series. I hated that. Turn my monitors down. I didn't hate the standards, but I didn't love them either. I mean, the pickups were just, meh, they just weren't my thing, So, just weren't my thing. But the new, the new player series. I mean, that series needed a refresh and a restart, on all its own for quite some time. So, it's good. Fender finally decided to give it some attention and make the upgrades necessary. So Jim Woodard says, I love gold tops. You're wrong. That's how the internet works. Let's see. Savannah Guitar says the only gold top is the Billy Gibbons with pinstripes. Billy Gibbons gold top with pinstripes. I haven't seen that one. Of course, I know Billy Gibbons is known for some pretty crazy guitars, but I've not seen that one. Stay Curious says, I love Levinson blade guitars, but they use gold hardware on many of them. I only buy guitars with silver or black hardware. I actually don't mind gold hardware. Matter of fact, I actually really like gold hardware. I think it's got a really high-class look to it. I've been in love with gold hardware since the first time I laid eyes on a Les Paul Custom, actually. So, I mean, I love gold hardware. I don't want it on every guitar because, yes, it does fade, and it does tarnish, but I still like it. That said, I've Levinson blade guitars. I don't know that I've heard of them. It seems like maybe I know I've heard of blade amplifiers. But I'm not familiar with Levinson blade guitars. I'll have to look into those. Joe Trey says, I agree. I absolutely love Les Pauls, but never like gold tops. And that's me. I love Les Pauls. I've always been a Les Paul guy. I've always loved pointy guitars, BC Riches in particular, and among other things, Music Man's, Music Man guitars, of course, are very, very, very high on that list. I really like Schecter's, but I've always been a Les Paul guy. Love Les Pauls. Never liked gold tops. I just never did. I'll never forget my first manager in the MI business was also a Les Paul guy. He was about, I don't know, I guess, he wasn't quite 10 years older than me, 9 years older than me, I guess. And, he was a little bit more into the more traditional stuff. He liked Fenders, he liked Gibsons, Fender amps, Marshall amps, stuff like that. That's really what he was into. And, he knew that, one, I wasn't a Fender guy. He knew I'm not a Fender guy. Didn't bother him. No big deal. But we got into a conversation about Gibsons one day, and the Les Pauls came up, and I said I don't like gold tops. I can't get into them. I just don't like them for some reason. They're just not my favorite. And he's like, what you? You don't like gold tops? You just absolutely couldn't believe. Whoa, wait a minute. Hang on. We got a troll in here I got to get rid of. Fucking loser. Unbelievable. Sorry about that. I don't know if you guys saw that dude that just blasted the chat with like 10 ridiculous comments in a row. I don't even know what he was saying, but moron. Let's see. Austin G says Les Pauls will make you have a hip replacement eventually. I never minded the weight. Honestly, to be honest with you, as far as Les Pauls go, the heavier the better. I have I've got no problems with the weight, none whatsoever. Weight, heavy Les Pauls do not bother me. I actually prefer them. So, oh, and he's back under a different username. That's cute. Yeah, so heavy guitars don't bother me. As a matter of fact, the last video that I recorded this week was with this guitar, which weighs literally about 15 pounds. Heavy guitars don't bother me. That one's pretty extreme. There's no way in hell I'd want to play an entire show with that thing. But yeah. Let's see. I'll tell you what. You know what? I need to get up and grab some water. So, Jim Woodard, I am adding you as a moderator for right now because I'm going to get up for about 1 to 2 minutes to go get me some water. And if that troll dude comes back under a different account, you can boot him back out for me. So, 2 minutes. Be right back. boy. All right, sorry about that. Thank you all for your patience. Let's see. Any more trolls hitting the chat? Let's see here. Austin G said I had a 73 Les Paul, and it was a chunk. I think it weighed 12 pounds. That's a big one. 12-pound Les Paul. That's a heavy one. That's a boat anchor there. Let's see. Park Kingery says my 72 Les Paul is a tank, and my Solar 7-string weighs a lot. 7 strings weighing, being heavy, that's not unusual because you got more wood on the fretboard. But let's see. So that's not uncommon for 7 strings to be a little bit heavier. Jim Woodard. Jim Woodard's apparently enjoying his new powers as a moderator. Let's see. Scott Brockway says my Kramer Focus 3000 weighs almost 10 pounds. Really? Man, I've got a Focus 1000 from 84 that's, I don't know, man, I'm lucky to get that thing might be 8 pounds, maybe. I mean, that's a pretty average feeling guitar, I think. Dave Escobar says, kick him in the nuts. By the way, I don't know, Jim, I don't know if that episode of The Practical Guitarist has gone up yet or not, but I will say one reason why I nominated Jim to moderate for me, moderate this chat for me here today is because he just had me as a guest star, guest host on their podcast for, I think that was the 4th time that you guys have had me on now. So that thing, I think you said that was going to go up this week. I haven't seen it yet, but admittedly, I've been working on a few other things and haven't had a chance to look. So, but we had a great time. If you guys want to go check out a cool guitar podcast, go check out The Practical Guitarist, and you'll get to hear me, yours truly, on there on this week's episode. Let's see. Jim Woodard says, one of these days Robert has to have me on a stream. I'm actually rendering the episode we recorded with him last week for The Practical Guitarist. Okay, there you go. So, yeah, I will be more than happy to have you on here with me one of these days. I just need to figure out how the hell to do that. Because I've never done that before, and I don't know. I'm sure I could figure it out, but I'd have to figure it out. Dave Escobar says, one of my heavyweights is my 79 Yamaha SG 2000. I'd guess 12 pounds. 12 pounds? 12 pounds is a heavy guitar for any guitar. That said, that Warlock that I held up here a couple minutes ago, you play that one and none of them, I haven't. That's the heaviest guitar that I can think of that I've ever picked up. So, but it's acrylic. It's lucite for you. It's heavy. It's dense. There's a reason why John 5 doesn't, play an entire show with any of his acrylic guitars. Jim Woodard says, I have a Les Paul not weight relief standard 50s from 2020, and it weighs 8 pounds 7 ounces. They aren't all heavy. That's true. That is true. A lot of it is just the characteristics of the wood itself. Now, you hear a lot of people that own 70s Gibsons. Here's a little known fact about Gibsons, particularly 70s models. 70s Gibsons at that time, they were growing their mahogany in Honduras. And so all their mahogany came from Honduras, and of course mahogany is probably the primary wood that the Gibson uses to build their guitars. Not only were they harvested in Honduras, but it was real close to the water, like right on the beach, And when you factor in sand as part of the soil that these trees were growing in, the primary component of sand, of course, is silica, which is really, 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 really dense. And so that worked its way into the characteristics of the trees themselves, which also made the trees really, really dense. And that's the reason why so many 70s Gibsons are absolute boat anchors. It's because of where the mahogany was harvested at the time. And that is information that I got direct from the Gibson rep for the folks at Gibson themselves. So that is not hearsay. That is from the horse's mouth. I just learned that a few years ago. I didn't know that. I thought it was pretty interesting. Austin G says, "What's up from North Carolina? What's up from Indiana, dude?" Dave Escobar says, "I have an old MIJ Squier Strat, one pickup thing." Ambrose says, "Robert, instructions to get rid of trolls. Kick them in the ovaries." I can't reach them from here, unfortunately. The only thing I can reach is my the only thing I can reach is my block button, which I've already had to use a couple of times. Tony Pepper says, "Robert, I'm in the market for a new PC interface. My one is flaky. What's your preference?" Depending on the money. If you're willing to spend the money, I would probably recommend you look into the Universal Audio Apollo stuff. And the reason why is because those are really, really they're high-end interfaces. I think you can the cheapest, smallest ones for the 2-input, just a standard 2-input version, little desktop one. Those start here in the U.S. anyway at like $699, I think. So they're not too expensive if you don't need a lot of inputs. And of course they can get all the way up to, in the same line when you get up into the rack mount stuff. You're looking at $4,000 for the top end models, but they are really, really, they're excellent interfaces because they have onboard processing, meaning that they don't need to route the signal through your computer and drain your PC's CPU resources, slow everything down. It does all that processing internally within itself, and then blasts it out, goes straight to the monitors from there. It also helps to reduce latency when you are recording, and also the mic pre's on them are really, really good quality. So, they got a lot of headroom, sound really good. The Apollo stuff is really, really popular right now. So, if you are willing to spend the money on the Apollos, that's what that would be my first recommendation. If you don't want to spend that kind of money, then I would definitely look at either the Focusrite Scarlett interfaces, which are the best-selling interfaces on the planet. Matter of fact, that's what I use. I've got an 18i20, which is the big one. And I started with a 2i2, which is this guy. This is a second generation 2i2 interface. They came out the third generation a little over a year ago now. So this is the old version. The new version looks actually really similar to this. Just a few upgrades, and the preamps are now better than what came in this one. But this the 2i2 is actually the best-selling interface on the planet. It sells brand new for like $159, $169 right now, I think. Great little interface if you don't need a lot of inputs on it. So for example, if you're just recording a guitar track, maybe 2 guitar tracks or something at the same time, and that's all you're going to be doing with it, that'll get the job done for you. If you got multiple things that are going to be plugged into it, recording multiple inputs at the same time, then you might want to look at one of the bigger models. But for my money, it would be, short answer, UA Apollo stuff. Oh, another thing about the Universal Apollo stuff, it also comes, with you get your choice of several of their plugins, and Universal Audio makes some of the best plugins in the industry, by the way. So for my money, UA Apollo stuff. If you're willing to spend the extra money, if you're not willing to spend the extra money, Focusrite Scarlett. Be my recommendations. Patrick Henderson says, "Hey Robert, can you recommend a multi-effect pedal / unit to run through my 6505 effects loop, chorus, delay, reverb, etc." I'm the wrong guy to ask, man. To be honest with you, because I'm not a processor guy. I do not like multi-effect processors at all. I've never demoed one on this channel, and I probably never will. They're just not my thing. I feel like my personal opinion and experience with them is I spend way too much time twisting and turning knobs and flipping switches and stuff on them than I do actually playing through them. I just always struggle with them. That said, I know a lot of other people have gotten a lot of really, really good sounds out of them. But with the 6505, especially if it's just regular modulation effects that you're looking for, there's the the Helix stuff. And even one of the smaller Helix units, I think, was the HX Stomp, or is the HX Effects? I think it's the HX Effects that is just the effects portion of the Helix. That's $600-700 or something like that. I don't think it's all that expensive, but that would be a good one, especially if you're just going into the effects loop for modulation type stuff. Let's see. Boss GT 1000 has got really, really high end. Got a really, really high end effects engine in it. That competes with the Helix just fine. So, if it were me, I would probably go with one of those two. The headrush stuff is also supposed to be pretty good. So, I think the headrush gig board is the smaller one of those. Would probably be a good fit for you. Yeah. And also the new Line 6 Pod Go. A lot of people seem to like that one. I have heard that it's the same effects engine as the Helix. I don't believe it. I don't believe it's true. I think it's an updated version, but it's an updated version of the old Pod effects engine, but a stripped down version of the Helix effects engine. So, so buyer, that's that. I would be aware of that. Mullet Man says, "Is the FG730S worth $300?" Yes, absolutely. For a $300 guitar, you are not going to find one that's better made than that, or plays better than the Yamaha FG730S, or really likely that sounds better than the FG730S, especially with the rosewood backing sides. And, even a laminate rosewood, it's still rosewood and still sounds like rosewood. That guitar absolutely is worth $300. If you don't want to pay that much, wait for a sale weekend or something and, flop a 15% coupon on at your favorite retailer. Be my guess. Easter's coming right up, coming up real soon. So, Guitar Center usually has an Easter weekend sale going on. So, you could probably snag one for around $250 or so if you're patient. Let's see. Savannah Guitar says Alder Mahogany and some others are heavy. Some PRS guitars are heavy. Some PRS guitars are heavy, but traditionally they are a little bit more streamlined of an instrument, I guess. For lack of a better description, I agree. I have picked up and played some pretty heavy PRSs, but the majority of them are a little bit more moderate in weight. So, they don't. They seems like they at least try to keep the weight manageable for people that like they find that happy medium in there for people that don't mind heavy guitars and people that don't want heavy guitars. OG says, I got FG 700 MS. They're pretty decent. You know, it's the in Yamaha world, the FG 700 and the FG 730 are pretty much the exact same guitar. The only difference being the FG 700 is mahogany back and sides, and the FG 730 is the rosewood. That's the only difference between those two models. So beyond that, they should play and feel, they're going to sound different, but beyond that, they should play and feel pretty similar. Let's see. Charles 75N is here. Fried Rutabaga is here. Says, "Where's Robert? He must have popped in here. I just sat back down here about 10 minutes ago. I had to get up and refill my water, and I know my water is purple, but that's because I use this. I don't know if anybody's ever tried that Mio water flavoring stuff. It's like uber concentrated stuff. You put a few squirts in a bottle of water and flavors it for you. So, but I was getting me some water." Because I'm really thirsty this morning for some reason. Let's see. Viewers dropped off. Now we're back down to about 30. Oh well. Let's see. Stay curious. Says, Robert, is the main secret to getting a pro sound for recording due to eliminating environment noise and the location on the mic? Me being a very amateur, amateur recording artist, my recording skills are pretty, are pretty basic. I can get done what I need to get done for my videos, but that's really about the extent of my knowledge. You don't want me producing your next record. So that said, yeah, you want to try to eliminate as much. If you're recording by actually miking amplifiers, rather than going with a direct signal like I do a lot of the time. If you're going with mics, then yes, you want to get. You want to be able to eliminate as much outside noise as possible. And sometimes that's done with acoustic treatments. Sometimes that's done by simply putting the mic right up as close to the speaker as you could possibly get it. When I'm miking amps, I mean, with that 57 SM57 especially, I put that thing right on the grill. And quite honestly, if I could get it closer than that, I would. But right on the grill is where I like it, and the other thing that I like to do is with, especially when I'm using a 57, I like to blend that with another microphone that's, kind of the opposite end of the spectrum, because the 57 is really, really bright sounding to my ear. So I like to, the Sennheiser E906 is my favorite, really is my favorite all around mic, but I've also found that it blends really, really well with the 57, because that one's got a good, a lot of low end to it as well. So those two combined, I think, sound really, really nice together. However, if the E906 is $189, I believe. You can also buy the E609, which is like $80 cheaper. And if you've never heard the E906, this is a great mic. If you have heard the E906, this is still a really good mic, but not as good. Doesn't sound as good as 906, but still a really good mic. And these are really cool because you can they're made to just be. You don't even need a mic stand for them. You can just plug them in, wrap the cable around the handle on the top of a combo amp, and then drape it over the front, drape it across the front of the speaker, and you're done. So those are actually very, very clever designs. And great live mics, too, by the way. Let's see. Jim Woodard says, the Pod Go is incredible. If you're on a budget and still want that Helix thing, get a Pod Go. That's the First-hand experience. There you go. So, Jim has a lot more experience with those kinds of those effects processor stuff, especially the Line 6 stuff, than I ever will. So, I would take Jim's word for it on that. Joe Trey says, I'm looking to get into recording again. I can't play drums. What is the simplest and easiest drum machine or program that you would recommend? I use Superior Drummer 3 more than anything. Superior Drummer 3 is it's a pretty robust program. It's got a lot. I mean, I'm just talking about just the core program, not any of the expansion packs. Just the core program of Superior Drummer 3 by itself. Number one, it's huge. If you don't have to download all of it and install all of it, but if you do, it's about 240 gigs. So you're going to want to make sure that you've got, if you do install it, do go that route, I would recommend that you install it on an external hard drive, because otherwise it's going to eat up a ton of space on your primary hard drive. So, but that's the one that I primarily use because I like the flexibility of it. There's a lot of kits to choose from, even without the expansion packs. There's a lot of grooves to choose from. I mean, you can, and then you can actually go in and you can mix the sound of each individual component, each drum, each cymbal, kick, snare, all that stuff. So I really like the overall functionality of. What was that? I like the overall functionality of Superior Drummer. That said, you can also go with the smaller version of it called Easy Drummer, which is there on Easy Drummer 2 right now, which is a little bit more streamlined in it, but it's still got an awful lot of stuff to choose from, even in that program. There are times occasionally that I do go in and just use Easy Drummer just because I need to get something done quick, and I don't want to go through all the bullshit of Superior Drummer. Easy Drummer just sometimes makes that process a lot simpler for me. Might not always have exactly the drum sound I'm looking for, but I can get close. So those are the ones that I use. I know Addictive Drums is also really good, and there's another one that's out there right now. Get Good Drums, I think is what it's called, that seems to be getting popular. Pardon me. And that one, I don't know. I've not checked it out. I don't know, but I think that one might be free, or at least there's a free version of it. So, any of those, if you're looking, to get back into home recording, and you don't have, you don't play drums, or you don't have access to a drum kit, or drum kit's too loud for your recording environment, whatever it may be, that's the purpose of virtual drums. That's why I use virtual drums. So, that's where I would start. With one of those places. So, Patrick Henderson says, Jim, that's what I was thinking of trying. I've heard the old Pod XT modulations still hold up pretty good. Plus, you can pick one up for about $50 to $75. That is true. You can pick those up cheap. Let's see. Savati Guitar says, any new news? Not really. No, not that I can think of. It's, thank God. It's actually been pretty quiet. At least, at least in my little bubble of the world anyway. Seems to have been pretty quiet here this past week. Dave Escobar says old modelers like the old pods can be spruced up with an IR loader. Also true. That honestly, that's with old effects processors, that was they back then they were most of them were designed because they were designed to be run into a front end of an amplifier, to go through an amplifier somehow, and out of a speaker cabinet. This is long before Really before impulse responses were even a thing. So nowadays, effects processors, modelers, etc., are really being designed more and more to go into, an FR input of some kind, be it an FR speaker like the Line 6 Power Cab, for example. Or a lot of people like to run straight into just good old-fashioned powered PA speakers, which are also really, really good for that. And then there's bands that are into, they want to go totally what they call silent stages, no amps on stage whatsoever, and everybody's going direct. So a lot of bands, especially nowadays, it's getting more and more common. They're just running their helixes, running a helix or whatever it may be, straight out to the mixing board into one of the channels on the board, and that's what they're doing. So, in those instances, now all of a sudden IRs are necessary because you have to have something in place of a cab. So, in place of a speaker. If you don't know what an IR is, by the way, an IR, which stands for impulse response, basically an impulse response is a digital signature of some kind that basically says this speaker in this cabinet with this microphone in front of it placed in this position at this distance sounds like this. That's what an impulse response is. So, Fried Rutabaga says, any experience with the TC electronic multi-effect thing? Forgot the name. If you're referring to the new one that just came out fairly recently, like within the last 6 months or so, unfortunately, no. I have not gotten to try one of those. Again, it's, really, it's I don't know. It's not really fair to call that thing a processor because really what that thing is, it's more like, I think, like 5 stomp boxes are all just, basically all stuck into the same unit together. It really is how it functions. It's more like a bunch of stomp boxes rather than an effects processor. So, but regardless, no, I have not gotten a chance to try one yet. So. Patrick Henderson says, I got a Digitech GSP-21 Pro I bought back in the early 90s. It still sounds fantastic. I just can't get it to go through an amp's effects loop and sound good. That's interesting. Now, that's another one of those things, though. I mean, you might not. Honestly, you may try going into the front end of a clean channel, an amp's clean channels, just see how it sounds. Because, again, back in those days, that's how a lot of those amps were being ran. So there were a lot of those processors rather were being ran. The GSP-21 was was a really popular one. So, matter of fact, those are really hard to find on the used market today. Jeff Seven says, watch the drummer use a Shure SM57 to pound a nail in to keep his bass drum from creeping. Then mic his snare with it. Best all-around mic in the 70s. The SM57 is definitely it might be the most popular instrument mic ever. It's probably sold the most units of any of them. It's not my favorite, at least not on its own. I don't like the SM57 by itself at all. I think it's really, really trebly, really harsh sounding. Not for me. At least, again, like I said, at least not by itself. I need something else to, with a little bit more bottom end to pair with it. But that said, there's not a studio on this planet that records guitar or probably any other instrument that doesn't have at least one SM57 somewhere on the premises. I mean, that is the industry standard as far as instrument mics. And another thing that it does really, really well is, one reason why a lot of bands like to use that mic on stage live is because, especially if you've got maybe a sound guy that might not be quite as experienced. Might be working an apprenticeship of some kind, learning how to run sound for a band, for example. An SM57 is generally a really, really easy mic for those people to EQ effectively. So even though it may not sound the same, a lot of times it's the easiest mic for the sound guy to work with. William Fitzgibbons says, hands down, best full stack. JCM 800. Marshall JCM 800, no question. Let's see here. Mango Berry says, I never ran my racks through a loop, always front doored it. Honestly, that's what I always did with them as well. When I was trying to figure out how to use effects processors, I was always running them through the front as well. I never really thought to run it through the back end at that time. So I always went into the front with them. So, but again, the most recent one that I've owned was a Korg AX1000G. So, which is like early mid 90s or something. I don't know, but. Where are we? Jim Woodard said, Robert makes a good point. Check the level of your input or the effects loop. The input of your effects loop or the output of your Digitech. Pushing too hard can make it poop. Those are great pedals. Patrick Henderson says, yes, the GSP-21 Pro sounds awesome through the front end of a clean amp. It sounds terrible when I try to just use the effects through the through amps loop. I prefer the distortion from my amp Catch 22. Yeah, honestly, that I'd buy delay cores and reverb pedals, and go that route rather than messing with the GSP-21 in that instance. So, especially if you like your amp, your amp's distortion, you're not running distortion pedals or fuzz pedals or maybe not even overdrive pedals. I don't know what kind of amp you're running, but if it's just a few modulation effects that you need, I'd spend the money on a few decent pedals that'll do those things well for you. So, let's see. By the way, I think I saw, Robert Alvarez was kind enough. I don't see him anywhere here in the chat, but he was kind enough to support the PayPal fund here this week. So, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it very, very much. Let's see. Mango Berry says, I always wanted one of those Digitech 2101 Legends. Been wanting one for a long time. Which one? I thought it was the GSP-20. Was it the 2101? There was one of those was one of those Digitech units that was really, really popular and was considered really high end at the time when it was out. I'm going back like early 90s. That there was back when effects processors and racks, rack rigs, all that kind of stuff were, was all still really, really popular. So, which would have been early 90s before that stuff started to go away. I guess originally I thought it was the GSP-21 that was the really, really popular one from Digitech, but now that I think about it, I think it might have been the 2101. I could be mistaken, though. Jim Woodard says, agree 100%. I went from multi-effects pedal to go multi-effects pedal to go back to pedals. I think we'd probably make better recommendations for individual pedals. Yeah, I also agree. You know, if you're looking specifically, you know, if you just need if you just like, for example, you know, you said chorus, reverb, delay, etc. So, you know, I'm assuming you need at least those three. You know, and probably, you know, say you want to add tremolo and phaser and flanger, or phaser or flanger, whatever it may be. You can probably find better recommendations for, you know, for pedals that you know, each of those in a pedal stomp box platform that would probably work better for you. So, and sound better. You know, pardon me. You know, especially delay. You know, delay and reverb. You know, delay and reverb. I mean, it's nowadays. You know, even if you go, you know, if you go with Joyo, you know, the Joyo stuff, like the Joyo Atmosphere Reverb, I think that pedal costs $89 and does, I mean, it does all kinds of, there's all kinds of reverb sounds that you can get out of that thing, and they all sound good. I was really, really impressed with that reverb pedal. So, especially for $89. Pedals that cost $150 that didn't do what that pedal does. Okay. Let's see. Patrick Henderson contributing to the super chat. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. Dave Escobar says, I like huge racks, and guitar preamps and processors are okay too. Mango Berry says the Pro 21 is a 2U size, and the 2101 Legend was the 2 version. I want to say that one was 4U or 4 space. God, I don't know. I didn't think they were that big. But gee, a 4 space processor, god damn, that would be gigantic. I feel sorry for the poor bastard's got to lug that rack around. Jim Woodard says, I have a Boss Chorus, MXR Flanger, Univibe, and Delay. Yeah, my pedal board, you know, and I don't have a great big giant. I don't have a regular pedal board anymore because I'm not, you know, like a lot of people, I'm not doing much in the way of playing gigs. Or doing anything I need to take my gear out of the house with me too often anymore. But, you know, the next time that I do have to build a pedal board, it's going to be pretty simple. So, I mean, I'm not going to put 2 and 3 different distortion pedals and, you know, 3 overdrives and all that kind of stuff on it. It's, you know, be probably, you know, my Marshall, or I don't know, you know, any of my 100-watt heads, and, you know, and probably a 212 cab. And wah pedal, and over, you know, maybe I don't know, depending on which amp I grab, I might not even grab a distortion pedal, maybe an overdrive, phaser, chorus, delay, and that, you know, and use the reverb built in on the amp. So that's probably about all that I would have on a pedal board right now. Oh, let's see. Mango Berry says, if all these pedals were available back in the 2000s generation, we would have had a longer run for most of those bands, I'm sure. I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of that kind of depends on, you know, in the early 2000s. I mean, that was the nu metal generation type stuff. So, you know, I don't know if there was a giant. I mean, the pedals were, you know, the boutique market hadn't quite boomed just yet. That really started to take off around 2010, I think. 2010, 2011, somewhere in there. So, Stay curious in the super chat. Thank you very much, sir. Says appreciate you answering my questions. What pedal board would you recommend for less than $200? I have 7 Boss pedals and a whammy. You know, there is. I did a demo. If you look on my channel back in my more recent videos, you can go back to I don't know what it was, a couple months ago, but there is a video that I did about I can't even remember the title of it. Let me look it up. Or I got a better idea. Rather than making you mess with the video, let me just go find the link to the stupid pedal board that I'm looking for. uh, hmm. There we go. Alrighty. Down in the chat, you will see a link. Oops, is that right? There we go. So I just put a link down in the chat. There's a pedal board brand. It's an off-brand made in China thing, but it's to my knowledge, this is actually their design. But the brand is called the Guido or something like that. Guitto is how it's spelled. They make that pedal board in 3 different sizes. For what you've got, I'd probably get the big one, which would be $150, $160. Not too bad. It's got these blocks that you install in the grooves, so you don't need Velcro. So, matter of fact, you don't want Velcro for this design. And there is, you can fortify everything with cable ties if you want to, but you really don't need to. But anyway, it's got these blocks that you can place on either side of the pedal that absolutely holds it in place. In my video, when I was talking about how to arrange pedals, I was using the small pedal board, the smallest size that they have, and mini pedals as the example. But I took that board and I had it upside down, shaking them all around, and all kinds of stuff, and they weren't moving. So it's absolutely stable. I was really, really impressed with the design. So I would go with one of those if it were me. They're affordable, they're built well. It's actually a pretty unique design, and lots of places to hide cables and mount power supplies and all that kind of stuff. So, let's see here. Scott Brockway says, I have like 55 pedals right now. I repair vintage stuff for one shop now, and he recommended me to another because the big guys don't have time anymore. It's hard to make money in pedal repairs, man. To be honest, I know a lot of amp techs that honestly they quit doing it. They quit. They've gotten away from repairing pedals altogether because it's number one, half the time they can't. It's so much more of a hassle to get parts and stuff that they might need to repair it. If it comes down to that, it's a pain in the ass to get those parts. And honestly, by the time that they get done, acquiring the parts and then putting it all back together and then charging for the labor, customer's almost better off buying a new pedal to begin with. So. Jim Woodard says my pedal board price is out at just over $2K. Too much effing money. To be fair, you got some of your guitars cost a lot more than your pedal board does. So, I'm surprised you run those into a import Marshall amplifier. With your taste. Not that there's anything wrong with that Marshall. It's a great sounding amp, but. Let's see. That might be a fun project. I may have to go through and tally up every price tag on all of my pedals. Because I've got over upwards of 200 anyway. I mean, I've got a lot of pedals. So why is things been dim? Oh well. I just now realized my camera is really, really dim. My light's on. That lighting sucks. Oh well. So, where are we? Jim Order says I have a broke dick electro-harmonics muff right now. I need a decent fuzz to replace it. Thinking about JHS Supreme Japan. Electro-harmonics flat iron fuzz, dude. Trust me. I know it's more of a rat clone, but trust me. That's a killer pedal. Unless you just got to have a fuzz style pedal, and then, in which case, I'm the wrong guy to ask. Let's see. Scott Brockway says I got permission to film my repairs from my main customer, so I'm launching my YouTube channel with that. That'd be cool. There's definitely a market out there. The pedal geeks love that stuff. So, you will definitely have an audience. That's the big buff. I'm just getting caught up in the chat here real quick. Let's see. All those are surface mount, hard to fix. You guys are talking pedal geek stuff. Just a switch, vintage only. Yeah, I don't know if you can fix it, you can sell it. Guitars cost more than my board. Jim says one of my guitars costs more than my board. Yes, that's you have several guitars that fit that description. By the way, between and you just listed several of them. ES335, Les Paul, Hummingbird, and I think you still got that V2. That old Gibson V2 hanging around there somewhere that I know is worth more than your pedal board. Let's see. I was suddenly, Mango Berry says, I was suddenly reminded of Robert's recent fuzz video. You must be talking about the super weirdo. That one was funny. What, you don't recommend the ZVEX? See, the internet still thinks you were wrong. Yeah, no, it's not that I don't recommend the ZVEX. It's just that pedal's too freaking weird for me. Drew Max said you need a ring light. Yeah, usually I set up my big, my big softbox light that puts off a lot more than this cheap LED thing that I'm using right now. But particularly for Saturdays, usually the LED will get the job done, and now all of a sudden it's bright. The picture's brightened up again. So it must be a weird setting on the camera of some kind. Yeah, I don't know. I really I need a light of some kind that I can mount, here on my desk that'll plug into something rather than run on batteries, which is how that LED works. I don't know. I don't want to buy more video equipment right now. So I think we're gonna be. We just refinanced this house. We're going to be in this house for probably at least another couple years. If I had to guess, things can change, but if I had to guess, that's probably pretty accurate. So in the meantime, the next house that I buy is going to have a larger area set up specifically for me and all my stuff, so that I'm not taking over more rooms than I should be with this stuff. Let's see. Yeah, Joe Trey says lighting was fine for most of the video. Yeah, that's what I thought, and I just looked up and all of a sudden noticed that it had gotten almost black again. Or at least that it was dark. Again, I don't know what caused that, because that light has still been working, shining right in my face this entire time. So, oh well. Overcast outside will mess the light. Well, that's why I got the blind shut too. So, and the only window in this room is the one right here behind me. Ring lights that run on USB. They're super cheap. Interesting. Okay. Well, I will look into it. Maybe that is a solution. We will see. Where are we at? 154. Well, guys, I am going to go ahead and enjoy the rest of my weekend. For those of you that were kind enough to come and hang out with me, thank you very much for doing so. For those of you that were kind enough to support the channel and the super chat, again, very kind of you guys also to do so. So, like I said, I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my weekend. You guys go enjoy the rest of your weekend. Adios, sayonara, see you later, goodbye. Oh, and by the way, you guys do not want to miss the video that's going up tomorrow morning. I worked real hard on that one. It's one I'm actually really, really excited about, and I promise you want to watch it, because it's not what you think. That's all I'm going to say. So, see you guys.